This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Hero Academy podcast. I created this podcast for you if you are a first responder, police officer, fireman, nurse, military personnel. This podcast is for you. Let's get your stories out. They need to be heard by everyone, especially the good ones. Let's share those stories and create some positivity out there in the world. Enjoy this episode. All right, fam, welcome back to episode number 8 of the Hero Academy podcast. In this episode, we have Project Mayday. They represent for EMS, fire, police, and military. It's their mission to prevent the unnecessary loss of life by taking a stand for mental health of our first responders. They have a podcast also by the same name. Enjoy this episode. Hello, everybody. I just want to introduce you guys to Project Mayday. I have G with me. G and Bree. It rhymes. All right. So I'm not going to do a lot of talking because I have a lot of questions for you guys. We have 2 guests today, both with very interesting, cool stories. I spoke to G on the phone and got a little bit of his story. So I'm going to start with Bree and just tell me a little bit about your story. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, I originally was going to be in law enforcement, and I was going to be 4th generation law enforcement. I was kind of indoctrinated into that type of culture. On both sides, I have a lot of first responders, and I was the only female out of my family. So there were 3 girls. I was the youngest one. I was the most tomboyish. And so they're like, hey, you should go law enforcement. But I realized I really didn't like wrestling people and fighting them. I was a bouncer in a nightclub, and I realized it sucks.
It's a really good thing to realize.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like this. So I ended up not going into law enforcement, and I went and randomly took an EMT course, fell in love, became a paramedic. And I've been doing that for about 13 years. And now I'm a full-time teacher too, and I teach all the EMS courses.
So you're a teacher and a paramedic?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot.
and G, and don't forget that you also run a business on the side as well, and have children. So
3, yes.
So you're doing a lot. And
yes.
G, your story?
Yeah, no. So it's nothing like that at all. I have no family in law enforcement, police, EMS, or anything like that. I kind of just the team aspect was what drew me into becoming a firefighter paramedic. And then fortunately enough to find people like Bree and Bree's husband, Zeph. And we kind of, just came together and worked in the same department with Zeph, and we kind of just became friends. I'm fortunate enough to become their youngest son's godfather.
We're reconsidering it, but I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, that's why I got into this field, is to have these type of relationships and grow, create a company to where we can give back to our people. So, just fortunate and loving life.
Mm-hmm.
So I said it to you when we spoke over the phone that I really do believe that it's one big brotherhood and sisterhood of people, all of the frontline heroes, the firemen, the police, the military, the nurses. We all come together when there's a crisis. And you guys are both on the West Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
California. So the first thing I thought about, West Side? I can't even do it right.
Yeah, you didn't do it right.
So the first thing I thought about when I thought California was I thought forest fires.
Oh yeah.
Did you fight any forest fires?
Yeah, no, for the last, 8 years, I've been on every single major one. I mean, her husband, as well as F, has been on every single major one. It's a real thing out here. We go to every single one every year. And I mean, on the other end, Bree, at home alone with 3 kids, and then also, have to worry about her husband being out. I couldn't even imagine, the stuff that she has to go through. But as far as us on the front line, yeah, we're there.
It was crazy. One year we both worked at a fire department, my husband and I, and our area was getting evacuated where we lived. And so I had to drive our children to my parents, which was a few hours away, come back and do evacuations. So California is on fire every single year. It is a thing. Yeah. Yay!
Why is it on fire all the time? I know it's very dry because I visited Palm Desert one year to go
literally
see.
Visited the driest area.
Yeah, it was
perfectly accurate description of California. But yes, it is very dry here.
Yeah, so no, it all has to do with topography and just the stuff. East Coast doesn't have it. East Coast doesn't have the wilderness and the terrain that California does.
So we have the Adirondack Mountains. We're going hiking in a week. In a couple, about a week, we're going hiking up in the Adirondacks. So we do have some mountains.
Okay, come out here. We'll show you. We'll show you mountains.
No, I think too, everything just really dry from the drought. We're constantly in a state of drought, it seems like. And there's a lot of controversy and political issues on if you should allow natural fire to just burn off some of the underbrush, or if we're supposed to be doing it. There's a lot of controversy between forestry and, state departments. So it seems like California is always on fire.
So I always wanted to live in Southern SoCal, Southern California, because they don't have the winters that we do in New York.
Yeah.
It's always beautiful. But the thing that I've always wondered about California is it's right on the ocean. Why don't they just pump that ocean water into the forest and just?
That's a great question.
Well, because usually the forest is pretty far from the ocean. When it comes to a lot of the areas that are being burned, sometimes there's small lakes or ponds that they pull out of, but those areas don't typically burn you don't really see as many fires over there, probably because of that.
Yeah, it's more inland, all the vegetation and stuff like that. So, that helicopter fly time to go grab the water and then having to carry all that tons of water to the site. The timing is just not going to be.
I know, Matt, California is a massive state. It's just tremendous. Like, you can't even appreciate how big of a state it is, but Texas is even bigger,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you guys, have you done some traveling?
Mm-hmm.
Where have you traveled to?
Shoot. Anywhere except for the Midwest. I've only hit one state in the Midwest. Other than that, I've hit pretty much every state. What about you?
Yeah, I'm more limited in the United States, but I've traveled to a lot of different countries. So that's been really fun.
You actually lived in Turkey?
Yeah.
Turkey for.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. That's why I'm really appreciative of the United States, is just we have no idea how lucky we are to say and do whatever we want, essentially, as long as we're not hurting other people, of course. But I really enjoy experiencing different cultures. And G was even born in India.
Yeah.
How old were you when you came to the U.S.?
I was 5, 6. I came in 97. I was born in 91. So.
Yeah. Have you ever been back to India?
I went back. The last time was in high school. My oldest sister's wedding was out there. So because it's a lot cheaper to have a wedding out there. So we had the wedding out there.
India is definitely on my list once they get done with this COVID thing. My thing is I like to put 2 international stamps per year on my passport. It's just like a number I came up with out of my head. I was just like, I want to travel twice a year and put some stamps on my passport. Yeah. I've been to Japan, the Philippines, Colombia, and a few other small Caribbean countries,
No. Yeah, no, I've hit Europe pretty good, but I do want to go down to South America more often.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So tell me about Project Mayday.
All right. Well, I like how you look directly at me. So Project Mayday was an idea that kind of came to me years ago. And my father passed away from suicide. And he was a 23-year veteran of California Highway Patrol. And it was out of nowhere. So I was 20 years old. And And the ripple effect of suicide is so overwhelming. I mean, just how many people it truly affects, even people that weren't that close to that person. When you talked about the brotherhood and the sisterhood, you hear one of your own did that, then you're starting to think of, were there signs? I mean, even if you weren't close, right? And so many people came up to our family and said he would have been the last person I ever thought would do it, which creates a lot of insecurity too in your own mental wellness. And so at 20 years old, I lost my father and I ended up graduating college. And that's also when I was like, there's no way I'm going to go law enforcement. It just wasn't for me. And then I happened to eventually become a paramedic trying to save people. Go figure. So
she's not very good at it. Her track record. Her track record is.
You want me to show up? You don't want you to show up. So I ended up. It's always been obviously a huge, life-changing event that happened in my life. And, it was kind of a secret, to be honest. I never talked about it. If someone asked about my parents or, something like that, I would kind of just say it was an accident and not really talk about it. And, I'm like, man, I would really love that this wasn't a stigma, that I wasn't embarrassed that, my father, a 23-year veteran, did that. And so I was a big advocate for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And there was nothing specifically for EMS, fire, there's not, it's just all inclusive, which is great, but thought, wow, that'd be really cool to just start the conversation. So one night we were kind of sitting around talking about it, and G is a motivator himself. He's a big PR guy, and he said, well, why wouldn't we start that? And it kind of just took off from this idea. And we started this podcast where we're talking about everyone's stories from the field, things that worked for them on why they felt mentally well, things that didn't work for other people, what, you could do about it. And it's trying to break the stigma of starting that conversation, period. When you start the conversation, it kind of loses a lot of power. And you also realize that a lot of other people can relate to you. And you're really never alone, that everyone carries some type of pain. Everyone has experiences. Everyone carries those calls with them, which is why we're, exclusively first responders, which does include healthcare too. But we're, you're first in line. You have a front row seat to pain. And how do you process that and file it away as a human being instead of just the badge? So Project Mayday is meant to really just inspire people to start talking.
No,
I love it. Go ahead, G.
Yeah, no, to that fact, I mean, when we release one that people resonate with, people hit us up on our website, and they I mean, we had just the last one, Chief White down in Burbank Fire Department. When he came on, it was, shoot, I can't even tell you how many submissions that, hey, I want to share my story.
Yeah.
I saw that one. It really inspired me. It really clicked. So that is literally when we were at the dinner table discussing to start it, that was the thing that we wanted to start with, that conversation.
Yeah, the world needs your organization, and I'm so grateful for you guys that you created it, and you're gonna affect so many people that you don't even know that may be listening and may be in pain, but they didn't know, where to turn, or they felt that their story was unique and individual, and like I'm the only one in the world who's going through a divorce right now. I'm the only one in the world who's lost a child or who has, a serious illness. You're not the only one in the world, and there are people that you can talk to.
Yeah. And one of our very first podcasts, I ended up having my grandfather on, who is my dad's father, and he was a retired deputy commissioner of CHP. And we talked about my dad's suicide, which was taboo even in our family to talk about that. But I'm, trying to be very transparent, which is painful and weird and awkward. But, it's like, if I can share our family history and story, I really hope that encourages other people to just be transparent too, which is something we're not taught at all, especially as a first responder. And, in our intro podcast too, we kind of talk about how we went into being a first responder and some of the things that we've experienced. So I think just trying to connect on a personal level, even through social media, really does give a voice to mental wellness of our first responders.
Well, thank you guys for doing that. You guys are heroes to a lot of people that you haven't even met yet. What's the craziest or funniest story that you can remember?
Go ahead.
Hands down, I'm going to tell you the funniest story I have ever heard personally is how G got into the fire service. It makes me laugh every single time. G, you have to tell that story.
All right. I don't know if your podcast is video, but I did not look like this when I decided to get into the fire service. I had a turban, I had a beard. I mean, the beard was down to here, and I just made it into my mind that I wanted to be a firefighter. And so when I started, I went to the local fire station here in Sacramento, and just the one down the street from my house. And I said, hey, I didn't know you show up in a suit and a tie. I'd bring ice cream. I didn't know any of it. So I just showed up in basketball shorts and a t-shirt and like, hey, can I get a job application? And they're
with a turban and a beard and basketball shorts.
Yeah. And what year was this?
This was 2010. 11?
Yeah, this is after 2001.
Yeah, no, definitely after 2000. I was in 5th grade. 2001. And so show up, and that's how that's how I am. And so I just show up in shorts and t-shirt, and they're like really confused. They're like, well, you're trying to do what? I was like, oh, well, I'm here to get an application, because I thought you applied to the fire station. You don't apply to like the state or the city. You apply at the fire station. So go there, ask for an application. They're like, no, that's not how it works. You got to, get your paramedic license. You got to get your firefighter certificate and all that kind of stuff. What they didn't tell me was you had to shave. They didn't say that. So that was different, because my next experience was coming out to New York. So I asked them, I was like, okay, if you guys had to pick a fire department to work at in your dream department, one of them said FDNY. And I said, where is that? Because like I know nobody. I know absolutely nobody in the fire service and or police or anything like that. So I was like, where is that? They're like, dude, it's New York, man. And so I was like, all right. And so I, thank them for their time, leave, go to my house, type in FDNY. The first station that pops up is in Manhattan. So book a flight, come out. And again, they didn't know I was going to go. So they didn't tell me, hey man, if you go, show up in a suit and tie, take some ice cream with you, like something, right? So I get off the plane, get just with my luggage in my hand, hey, I was only there for like 3 days or something like that. And ring the doorbell, and this guy with his handlebar mustache down to here opens the door. He's like, can I help you? I was like, oh, I'm here to apply. And like, turban, beard, and so he looks at me so confused, like, what do you, no, you're not here to apply. I was like, no, I'm here to apply. And he's like, come inside, man. So I come inside, and there's just, I don't know, probably 20 people in that station. And they're just looking at me. And to me, the only thing I know about firefighters is the movies, right? They're cool people, blah, blah, blah. So I'm giving everybody like homie handshakes and like bringing them in for the real thing. Like, and so they're just like, what the heck is this guy? And finally they sit me down, and I'm thinking Chiefs, like one of these, like one of the homie handshakes. And so they sit me there like, what's going on? What are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here to apply. And they're like, where are you from? I was like, I'm from Sacramento, East Coast, West Coast. And then for some reason, everybody thinks that if you say you're from California, they think you're from Hollywood. So they're like, oh, you're Hollywood. I was like, no, it's about 8 hours away. But yeah, sure. And so they asked me all that, and then I was like, yeah, I want to be a firefighter here. And they're like, no, we're not going to hire you. And this is where the difference from East Coast and West Coast was. West Coast was very PR. They were like, hey, you got to do this, you got to get this, paramedic license, you got to do this, you got to do that. East Coast was, no, we're not going to hire you, man, because you look like someone that just took down the Twin Towers,
We're not going to hire you.
Yeah, we're not going to hire you. You don't look.
Basically telling you look like a terrorist.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, well, damn, right? Like, okay. And so I'm like, I just came out here. And they're like, they saw like the defeated look in my face. I just came out there, right? And so they're like, how long are you here for? I was like, oh, I'm only here till tomorrow or the next day. And they're like, all right, why don't you do a ride along and see if you like it? And, we're not going to hire you. Just come to the ride along with us. And I was like, all right, cool. So I stayed until the ride was awesome. And then when I was headed back, they said, hey, you got to shave, man. Like, you have to. And so went back to Cali and shaved. and this is how I look now since 2011. And so, and then started getting into that, and found my career and became a fireman, and then we're here.
I mean, I love that story. Can you imagine, like, being a first responder in this culture of hardcore military? Everything is kind of where it needs to be, and someone shows up in a turban, a long beard. It's like, hey man, and a basketball shorts. Like, I'm going to work for you. You're like, what is happening? And then ends up actually doing it. Also, is surprising.
Yeah.
That's a great story. What's the deal with the handlebar mustache? That's like deep entrenched in the fire culture. Is that a thing on the West Coast too?
No, yeah, for sure. I have a theory that because there wasn't masks back in the day, like how there are now, when you go into fires, people just have their mustache, so they would just, that would be their filter. Would be going into smoke, and that would be their filter to catch all the carcinogens.
What's the biggest challenge with Project Mayday and getting it off the ground to where you guys want to be?
I definitely think the biggest challenge is just getting us out there. Just because we're a newer business, and I feel like our stories are there. I think people are very encouraging and wanting the same things that we want, but just really understanding how to get the message out that we're available has been, I think, our biggest challenge.
No, for sure. Yeah.
That's every business's biggest challenge, is getting the word out.
Yeah, and being consistent. I mean, she has a full-time job. I got a full-time job. Zeph has a full-time job with 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I got a dog. So I got a kid. But yeah, no, it's just being consistent and being out there every day, so people can see us, kind of thing.
How often are episodes released?
Bi-weekly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And what is the website? JEMS. What is that?
GEMS?
Yeah.
So GEMS is Journal of Emergency Medical Services, and we partnered together where our podcast goes on EMS Today, so you can access our podcast that way. GEMS has been around as long as I've been in the field. It's one of the only, or as far as I know, the only journal just for EMS, Emergency Medical Services. There's more for fire and law enforcement, but this is just EMS. So our podcasts go on EMS Today, but our website is projectmayday.us. Okay. And through that, our podcasts are on there, our media page is on there. We even have a shop on there, and that's where you can do the contact us if you want to share your story.
Yeah, and then anything that anybody buys, it goes all toward mental health services. Mm-hmm. Every single proceed goes toward that. So, it's just, like I said, givers gain, and that's just how we operate.
What's one of your best memories in the role of being a fireman and being a paramedic?
For me, it was delivering my first kid.
I was just going to say that.
Nope. You got to think of a different story. Mine was delivered a kid. I mean, that was absolutely amazing. All the hard work over the years, and how I grew up as far as being bullied and being foreigner and all that kind of stuff, all really just solidified itself that this is what I need to be doing. And this is why I was put through everything to get to that spot to deliver this kid. Like, it was just amazing. It was amazing.
That's cool. And Bree, what's one of your best memories in that role?
One of my best memories would be just some of the certain calls I've gone on where I knew I did everything right and I got the outcome I wanted. And that not only feeds my ego.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
It not only feeds my ego, but it really made me believe more and more into medicine, and that, first responders are really needed. If you don't know what to do and you see that fear in someone's eyes and you're like, I got you, don't worry about, or we don't say don't worry about it if it's serious, but it's like, hey, I got you.
I got you.
And knowing that you're real about it and you have trained and you do know what to do, and then it turned out exactly how you wanted it to. I think that is definitely the best feeling, as being a paramedic and first responder.
Yeah, and then I also want to add Zeph, who's the
Mhm.
third person here, but he's not able to be with us today. His, I think, is all about mentorship.
Yeah.
He's a captain, and I know he really, really prides himself on giving back to the next generation. And so, if he was here and talking about it, it would definitely be his mentorship and him giving the lessons to the next generation for sure.
I am going to interview him all by himself because I'm all about mentorship and coaching. I'm all about it.
Good. I'll tell him that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zeph
So-
doesn't like to be in the spotlight, but
Okay.
He's huge in the company. Sometimes he's on the podcast, but he definitely edits and does all of our videos. And
We can do an audio only episode with Zeph. You have any advice for people that want to become firemen now or paramedics now or any kind of first responder?
The advice that I would give, and this is kind of just a quote I use all the time, is whatever you do, be good at it, no matter what you're going to do. So the second that you stop caring about other human beings, which happens, burnout happens, and I get it, but the second you really feel that burnout, you should pause and reflect if maybe you should do a career change. I think this is one of the best jobs in the world, but there are disadvantages to this job too. It's a true sacrifice, and realize, the sacrifices and before you get resentful.
No. And just to add on to that, know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, what you're getting yourself into, and do your homework. Go on ride-alongs. Don't just jump right into it like I did. I didn't go. I went on that one ride-along, but that was it. And so, be proactive. And if you are in it, and then you feel yourself kind of, that mental health aspect start to deteriorate, reach out.
Yeah.
Absolutely reach out and go from there, because we're all here for each other, man.
Yeah. And that's something we say on our podcast at the end. We always say call out. So we're calling out to those who may be listening, and you should call out when you need help.
I love it. That's really cool. G, who's your top 5 greatest of all time? If you could have a conversation with them or mastermind with them, who's on your list? Your top 5?
Top 5. 1, Kobe Bryant. That's just my guy. I played basketball, so that's my guy. Another one would be Martin Luther King for sure. And then another one would be, let's go with Elon Musk.
Okay.
For sure. Elon Musk, absolutely. 4th one, I would say Marcus Luttrell, Lone Survivor. I really want to have a conversation with him. And then 5th is David Goggins. I know you know David Goggins. That's my guy.
Those last 2, that might happen,
Yeah, I was just thinking
that might actually happen. You might only be 6 months to a year away from those conversations. You just never know.
I think you've probably seen the episode, but we had the guy named Dr. Brooks, Tony Brooks, and he was actually part of the Army Ranger squad that went to go rescue Marcus Luttrell. So we had him on our podcast. So that was really, really cool, and it was super exciting for me to interview him.
Yeah, that's what I call real heroes. But I also consider you guys heroes for what you do as well, and who you serve. If money wasn't in the equation, all right, I'm gonna throw this one at Bree, right? And your family was taken care of, okay? What would you spend your time and your money on? So money is no longer an equation. You have Jeff Bezos money. You have $100 billion. You have $100 billion in the bank. So you can basically do whatever you want, and you can spend your entire day doing this thing, and you can spend the rest of your years doing. What would you do if money was not in the equation? You didn't have to work, and your children were taken care of. You had a squad of nannies and teachers.
Hey, that sounds great. Honestly, I really like mentorship of younger women that maybe are told to not do something because they are a woman or they can't do it. we see this a lot with the fire service. There's a huge intimidation factor of the physical job. We don't see it actually as much with law enforcement in comparison. But, really it's what are you good at and what are you interested in? And once you find those two things, you need to get it. You need to go after it because there's a reason. There's a purpose and you need to find that purpose. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot with female culture to be indecisive and also insecure. And I don't really know, I don't know the golden rule on how to just fix all of that, but I definitely think the more productive, amazing people we have, and the more diverse that we all are in all aspects, I think we'll create a better world.
Yeah, look at this crew.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at this motley crew. When you get a chance, go on my Instagram and look at my last interview of Super Jenna 82. She's a tactical fire chief.
Yeah.
Tactical firefighter. She's a very badass chick.
Awesome.
For sure.
So, G, what would you spend all your money and all your time doing? Your family's taken care of, so don't worry about them.
Yeah. I'm like you, man. I'm all about growth and mentorship as well. And like Bree. But mine, I got into the fire service to open the gate to other Indian kids to want to pursue this career. So I would absolutely put that $1 trillion into opening doors and opportunities for other Indian kids to want to do something that I love.
A lot of people don't know the largest English speaking country in the world is India. A lot of people don't know that fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting fact.
There's like 1 billion of us over there.
What's the best compliment that you've ever received from someone that you helped? I know that's a tough question.
I mean, all I can think, probably just thank you. And they mean it. I think especially the older generation, and we're talking 80s, 90s, they've really seen a lot. I mean, we're talking World War II still. And if they're in pain, they're like the last ones to call, which is so upsetting because they don't want to be a burden. But when they are in a lot of pain or something happens and they truly say thank you, and you actually help them, that was one of the best compliments because you think of the lifetime they've lived and they're still saying, they're still appreciative after all that.
A sincere thank you. That's like pretty much all anyone ever needs, right?
No, for sure.
You guys have any projects coming up?
You're
promoting anything?
Yeah. So we're actually in talks with a nonprofit down in SoCal for putting on an event. They're also first responder based and mental health. And so it's 809 Fight for Awareness down in SoCal. And they do like boxing events and stuff like that. So I put on our podcast that I would fight one of them in the ring. And
he's gonna get murdered.
No. So we're still figuring things out, in the preliminary kind of setting for it. However, in October, we're going to be doing a walk for mental health. Bree's kind of the head on that. But yeah, we got some things in the works, and just optimistic and positive on what we can do.
You guys are doing so much. I can only imagine what your calendar looks like. Oh, and I was just going to tell you, make sure that for the fight you put in the contract that it has to be like a featherweight or a strawweight.
Yeah.
I'll get the heavyweight.
Well, maybe we'll get Zeph out there. Yeah. He's been boxing, so.
Yeah, that's more of a thing. He's not.
We'll see.
The website one more time, just so people can find you.
Yes, www.projectmayday.us.
projectmayday.us. I'll put that in the show notes for sure. Now I'll hit you with my final 5. You guys hit me with your final 5. Mine are easy and light and fun.
Okay. Well, those weren't your final 5. I thought the one you just did was your final 5.
Nope, this is my final 5 right here.
Right.
How do you define hero? What does being a hero mean?
Acts of service.
Bree?
Yeah, selflessness.
Selflessness. And when stress is at its highest and you are feeling stressed out, how do you save yourself?
I draw.
I go outside.
You go outside.
I just
Okay.
have to be in nature.
All right. That's good. That's very good. I like to travel. So I like to get near a mountain. And if I can hike a mountain or,
On the West Coast? On the West Coast?
Any coast. I've been to Scottsdale, Arizona. They had some great hiking out there.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go to California. California's high on the list, very high.
Come visit.
And maybe even this August, I got some air miles that are piling up that maybe this August.
Come on out.
Would you ever consider starting a coaching segment of your business to coach other EMTs or paramedics or firemen down the line? Like maybe when you don't have so much on your plate?
I mean, I do that full time as a teacher.
You always make more as a consultant, though.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's absolutely in, I think, Project Mayday's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely something you guys should consider and keep that in the back of your head. Bree, what's your greatest power? What's your greatest strength?
Protector, especially when it comes to my children.
Mama bear, don't mess with
big
Mama
time.
Bear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrified of this woman.
G, what's your greatest power? What's your strength?
I would say my ability to get vulnerable, to have those deep conversations and those conversations that don't necessarily come to the forefront being first responders. So I think my ability to be vulnerable.
Yeah, that definitely allows you to connect with people faster. And just for fun, if you had a comic superpower, what would it be and why, G?
Mine would be to control time.
Time. Oh, a lot of people have been saying that lately. Forward or backwards?
Both ways, man.
And would you be able to pause it? Would you be able to pause moments?
If I go into the future, I don't like it, I'll go backwards and then change it a little bit. Yeah.
Changing time is very, very risky.
Absolutely. But yeah, control time. That would be mine.
Bree?
I think it would be to read minds.
Read minds.
She thinks she does that.
I'm a woman, so I definitely presumptive. Yeah.
I just want to thank you guys for being here. You guys are fun to be around, and I appreciate the time that I spent with you guys. I learned a little bit. I learned a little bit from every single guest that I have on the show, and I know that you guys provided value for my audience, and I just want to thank you sincerely for that.
No, absolutely, man. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
And I'll be in touch. We'll talk very soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Take care, guys.